Building a culture is not something that happens overnight. It takes years to have exactly what you want. For Felicia Leggett-Jack, in just her second season as head coach of Syracuse, the roots of her culture are sprouting as the Orange march towards the NCAA tournament. With just one game remaining in the regular season, SU is ranked 19th in the country, 23-5 overall, and 13-4 in the ACC. Good for second place in the league, and already having locked up a double bye in next week's ACC tournament. But Syracuse's final test before the postseason awaits on Thursday in the form of number 12 NC State. We'll break down how both teams came from the middle of the pack of preseason projections to the top of the league, right here on Cuse Countdown. Hello and welcome inside the CitrusTV studios for another episode of Cuse Countdown. Ethan, Frank, Srikar, Rajendran, and Jordan Leonard here for the next 30 minutes or so to break down Syracuse women's basketball going up against NC State on Thursday down in Raleigh. Exciting show ahead of us, guys.
No, 100%. This is an exciting time, especially for this program.
It's a legit matchup to end the season for Syracuse, too.
Yeah, but before we move forward, let's go back a little bit, look at Syracuse's last game against Pittsburgh. A little bit hairy until the fourth quarter, Srikar, and then Syracuse turned it off.
Ethan, I'll keep it frank, no pun intended. That was too close for comfort, okay? I mean, you got to take that game and absolutely run with it. Deasia Fair absolutely saved them. 15 points in the fourth quarter. Sophie Burrows hit a few clutch threes, but the rebounding and shooting struggles, I mean, that was on full display, Jordan. 27% from the field in the first half. They were out-rebounded in 3 of 4 quarters. I mean, it really doesn't get much tighter than that.
Yeah, and you mentioned it was against the Pitt team that they really should have dominated from start to finish. It was the senior day, so a little bit of emotions on the line. Deasia Fair, Elena Rice playing their last game in the Dome unless they host an NCAA tournament round. But you mentioned Deasia Fair, 15 of her 23 points going in the fourth quarter. She really saved the day because the offense overall really wasn't executing on all cylinders, and Pittsburgh was really taking it to Syracuse.
Liatu King, I mean, one of the best players in the ACC, despite playing on a Panthers team that has only 2 wins in the ACC this season. You're not going to believe it. Another milestone for Deasia Fair in this game against Pittsburgh. She becomes the 5th all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball history, passing the great Brittany Griner. And here's what Coach Jack had to say about it after the game.
When you tell somebody that you believe in them and you tell them that they are enough, they will soar. She's a living example of that. And I'm just a person that God put on my spirit to just let her know she did all the work, and I'm just so grateful I can be one of the witnesses.
When you hear those emotions from a coach, it really touches you. Jordan, what did you pick up from listening to Coach Jack?
Well, Coach Jack is just grateful for the opportunity. She's had it ever since Buffalo. Deasia Fair is just a walking bucket, and that's exemplified with passing that record. I mean, we're talking about Brittany Griner. She's one of the best women's college basketball players of all time, and you realize Deasia Fair right now is the second most active leading scorer in Division I behind Caitlin Clark, who is an absolute phenom, who's really taking advantage of the women's basketball game. It just shows how good Deasia Fair really is.
You know, Jordan, basketball is a journey, and Deasia Fair's journey has been absolutely incredible. To see her in the top 5 NCAA all-time scoring list, top 5. That is incredible, great company to be in, and her impact, I think the last game against Pitt explains that perfectly. She is the spark plug when you need it most. When you need a big play, Deasia Fair is there. Like, that is her impact. So I think this is an incredible accomplishment, and she totally deserves it.
Her coach loves her, her teammates love her, and those are the traits of a really special individual. You know, Syracuse did almost lose this game, though, to Pittsburgh. It lost to Duke by double digits earlier in the week. Could have been a 2-home loss week for the Orange, and that's because this is a team that is starting really slow. And my personal sustainability models are not saying that they can keep starting this slow and come back to win games, right, Srikar?
100%. I agree with those sustainability models, Ethan, because here's the thing. Look, if you start slow against NC State, that is only going to be your demise because they are going to force the tempo. They are going to play the game at their speed. And when you get into a situation like that, you're trapped. So no more wake-up calls for a top 20 team in the nation. Take the right shots, play with a ton of energy, play with a ton of physicality early on, and you can hang in this game.
If you look at the comebacks this season, they're averaging Syracuse outscoring opponents by 5 points per game in the fourth quarter. Syracuse, as Felicia Getjack has really said all season long, is a 35-minute team. And really, those first 5 minutes are the ones that are killing Syracuse. The first quarters and those first quarter and second quarter in the first half generally have been putrid for Syracuse all season.
And a big reason for that is the way the Syracuse team is shooting the ball. Here's some numbers for you guys. Against Duke, Syracuse shot under 30% from the field, under 25% from three. Those two things the same in the first half against Pittsburgh. Jordan, the way this team is shooting the ball is not consistent in the slightest.
You just said it right there. They have been not very good at consistently shooting first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. And it's because of their shot selection. They're not doing a great job of getting quality shots for who's shooting the ball. De'Asia Fair driving into the lane against the Duke, who's a tall guard lineup. That's not her best shot. A three-point shot might be better. Georgia Woolley, she's not necessarily a three-point shooter. She's a mid-range shooter. They need to be a little bit smarter on the shots that they actually take. Feed Alyssa Latham down low. Don't let her get the ball outside of the paint. That's how you fix these shooting inconsistencies.
Yeah, those numbers are putrid, and it all comes down to taking the right shots. When they become available, I have trust in this team to make good on those opportunities, because at the end of the day, when you get those chances, you got to make do on them. This is a great team for a reason, and I think they'll figure things out.
So you talk about shooting, that leads us to scoring. De'Asia Fair is going to get hers, but since that Virginia game a week and a half ago when Georgia Woolley had 26 to go with Fair's 33, the secondary scoring on this team has been lacking a little bit. Srikar, who are you looking for to step up and maybe be a second or third option?
I think it's the front court. I think it's quite obvious. Georgia Woolley has been doing her thing. You know, she is obviously the number 2 option on this Syracuse team. But when I look at that front court, when I look at Alyssa Latham, when I look at, Elena Rice, those two have to step up as the clear number 3, because at the end of the day, if they step up, that's another layer added to the SU offense, Jordan.
I agree. It's the front court that needs to step up a lot, because if you look at the beginning of the season, it was front court success. Alyssa Latham averaged double-figure points. Isa Varejao was playing very well. Just to give you some context, De'Asia Fair scored 30% of Syracuse's points this year. She has 611 on the year. The next closest score with Georgia Woolley, 351 points. That just shows you how much De'Asia Fair has been really carrying this team, and the front court and Georgia Woolley, like you mentioned, are how you solve that problem.
Scoring is going to need to be, at a premium for Syracuse against an NC State defense that is really strong. We'll tell you a whole lot more about the Wolfpack coming up in a little bit, still here on Cuse Countdown. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants.
Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. Ethan, Frank, Srikar, Rajendran, Jordan, Leonard here inside the CitrusTV studios previewing number 19 Syracuse and number 12 NC State coming up on Thursday, the regular season finale for the Orange. Let's focus on the Wolfpack a little bit though, guys, and just like with Syracuse, we got to rewind before we move forward. And for that, NC State has lost 2 games in a row now, both to rivals, and a double-digit loss to Duke last weekend, Srikar.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to note that SU didn't fare much much better against this Duke team, but I find it pretty paradoxical. The Wolfpack started slow, and they couldn't catch up. You know, that's the one thing that is creeping into SU's radar now. But they shot 14% in the first quarter, 8 turnovers in the first half. I mean, Isaiah James had to be the De'Asha Fair for this team in the second half. She had 15 points. It's a little bit concerning for this NC State squad to go down like that. But SU, kind of in the same boat, Jordan.
Well, they did the same thing. Duke did that to NC State, what they did to Syracuse. They forced NC State to really not take shots that they liked. 33% from the field. If you look at it, the Duke pounced on them. 2 of 14 in the first quarter for NC State from the field. 4 of 14 for the Wolfpack in the second quarter. It's really, Duke forced them into a lot of tough shots, just like they did to Syracuse. It was really interesting to see that carbon copy formula for the Blue Devils.
Kennedy Brown posed a lot of problems for the Orange, posed the same problems for the Wolfpack. Let's look at the man in charge of the number 12 team in the country. This is a group that was picked to finish 8th in the ACC preseason poll and is now, one of the top teams in the conference, has been in the top 10 for a lot of the season, and that's Wes Moore. Jordan, what is there to know about him?
Wes Moore is, one of the best college basketball coaches in the game today.
Of all time?
No, not of all time. On the
down.
women's side, we won't go all times. You know REM at UConn's pretty good over there. But Wes Moore has went to the NCAA tournament with a Division I, Division II, and Division III school. He's the only coach to ever do that. He's had 33 winning seasons in 34 total seasons. What else can you do if you're Wes Moore? You've had 9 of your 10 season at NC State with 20 or more wins. He just wins consistently because he puts his players in the best position to win.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. When you look at Isaiah James, Sanaya Rivers, River Baldwin, Diamond Johnson last year before she transferred to Norfolk State, he knows how to utilize the pieces he has. 3 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8 appearance at NC State. I mean, that's not too shabby. Last year, obviously, a little disappointing, getting bounced in the first round, but this current squad, I think they have what it takes to make a deep run.
And being at the same place for 10 years is really impressive as well. That's not something you often see. And one thing that Moore's teams are very good at, especially this year's squad, is rebounding. That's an area where Syracuse has struggled over the past couple of games. You think about being minus 27 to Duke last Thursday. We're struggling a little bit against Pittsburgh before pulling away at the end. Srikar, rebounding is going to be really important in this game.
No, it really will, Ethan. And I think the main problem lies with River Baldwin. That's where the mismatch can come into play. 6'5", averages about 7 boards a game. She's taller than both Izzy Varejao and Alyssa Lee. I mean, that is a mismatch in itself, Jordan. So I think that is going to be a key. Can you get the boards? Can you out-physical the other team? When it comes to that matchup with River Baldwin, that's going to be the big point.
You mentioned River Baldwin, 6'5". It's kind of like Liz Kitley, who was 6'6". She dominated the boards against Syracuse. She had double-digit rebounds when they played Virginia Tech earlier this year. Yes, NC State leads the ACC in rebounds, but Syracuse also leads the ACC in offensive rebounds. It'll be a very interesting battle between the defensive boards of the Wolfpack, the offensive boards of the Orange, and that's going to be a key matchup to whether Syracuse can actually pull this game out.
Yeah, and not only is rebounding going to be important, but the play of the guards as well. We know about Syracuse's guards, the Fairs, the Rices, the Woolies, the Perkins off the bench. But for NC State, they've got a trio of really good perimeter players, and Syracuse's perimeter defense, Jordan, is going to be tested.
It's going to be tested a lot. Georgia Wooley's their best perimeter defensive player, and you look at it, Isaiah James, Madison Hayes, Sanaya Rivers, they all do different things too. Madison Hayes is that three-point killer. 10 games this season with 3+ three-point makes. They're 8-2 in those games. You look at Sanaya Rivers, was the former 3rd overall player in the 2021 class. She was the ACC 6th player of the year. And then you look at Isaiah James, who leads this team in scoring. They can all do it, and they do different things at that.
No, 100%. Isaiah James can shoot, especially tough shots. She's got a good set of handles, scoring leader for the Wolfpack for a reason. Sanaya Rivers, super shifty, can get to the basket in a blink. And you look at Madison Hayes, just a pure athlete. It's tough to defend those three, and it'll be interesting to see how the SU defense plays them and what angle they take.
So you mentioned rebounding, you mentioned scoring, and now we're here at the Walls. You know what that means. It's time to break down something about the Wolfpack, and for that, let's focus in on their defense, which has been terrific all season, Srikar.
No, I think it's about the defense and what they do after the defensive possession as well. If we look at one play right here, it's a tight game here, but here's the thing. Look at Maddie Cox, recovers. Look how many NC State players are in the paint, ready to hawk on that. Can we see that again? Maddie Cox right here is going to recover very well, makes a good defensive play, and there's about 5 people in the paint right there. So if Notre Dame somehow gets the ball back, That's going to be a tough shot to take, Jordan.
Yeah, and you look at that highlight. Hannah Hidalgo is about the same size as Deasia Fair. Even though Hannah Hidalgo won that matchup, it was the great help side defense, and they do that all the time. We're going to go to the next play in that same Notre Dame game. If you look at the wall, just look at that. Even the big fella, Maddie Welsfeld, she's going down the lane and then gets beat off the dribble first, but the rotation defense. There's no angle to pass the ball. She gets the block, and then they're out in the outlet. The defense does a great job of rotating, making sure there's really no lanes that are going straight to the rim, and then they get that ball outlet on the offensive side.
Syracuse's front court is going to be tested rebounding the basketball, and its perimeter players are going to have to go up against those trees in the paint. All right, we've learned about the Orange. We've learned about the Wolfpack. It's time to get in the kitchen. What? Jordan and Srikar, they've got some ingredients they want to add to Syracuse. We'll be right back here on Cuse Countdown.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive bug.
We're cooking up some creations here in the CC Kitchen. Welcome back to the CitrusTV studios for Cuse Countdown. Ahead of number 19 Syracuse taking on number 12 NC State in the regular season finale for the Orange. Jordan Leonard, Srikar Rajendran. I'm Chef Ethan Frank. But these are my sous chefs here, guys. And we're going to be cooking up, a few ingredients to help some aspects of Syracuse's team. We talked about the front court a little bit and how good NC State's front court is. So for Syracuse's front court, Srikar, what are you adding to them to potentially make them a little bit better?
I have no Michelin stars. I'm not an acclaimed chef, but I will give some ingredients that could help this team down the stretch. I think one, for the front court scoring, you need some eggs. You need some muscle. You need some protein. Eggs are one of the best sources of that. So I'm looking at Verajao. I'm looking at Latham. If you can get out-physicaled, or you can out-physical NC State in the post, I think it's only going to make you a lot better, and especially going up against River Baldwin, it's a necessity.
I like that, actually. The protein really rejuvenating the legs. Coach Felicia Legette-Jack always tells the front court players to bend at the knees, sit in that chair to go get the rebound. I'm going to have to go with the dark chocolates, though. Not necessarily the most common ingredient, but it's a very rejuvenating food. You look at it, it's a great source of antioxidants. It helps improve blood flow, lower blood pressure. I really just think this front court needs to be rejuvenated because they played well at the beginning of the season. You look at Alyssa Latham, you look at Isabel Verajao, Kyra Woods, and I Wilson have been there all year. The pieces are there. They just need a little bit of rejuvenation with some dark chocolates.
You just said so many words that I've never heard of before. I mean, antioxidants? What am I at the doctor's office
that's
right
what
now?
the sous chef is supposed to do. Help the master chef if they don't know exactly what they're doing.
You mentioned Michelin. Have you ever been to a Michelin star restaurant?
Yes.
Wow.
So I can judge off experience.
Look at that. There it is. All right, we got a couple more ingredients to add to a couple different members of this team and a couple different units. Let's focus broadly on the Syracuse defense. This is a group only allowed 53 points to Pittsburgh, held Duke under 60 points, but only scored 45. So Jordan, what are you adding to this defense that has played pretty well over the past couple of games?
You just mentioned it. They played pretty well, so there's really not too much to add, but I'm going to add a little bit of hot sauce because they just need a little bit of a kick. They run an interesting defense. They run kind of a 1-3-1 with Georgia Woolley at the top. I like how it works because of Georgia Woolley's length, but they just need a little bit of kick to add to that defense to get to 100% there because they've done it not quite consistently. If they get that hot sauce, maybe sniff it, eat it, I don't know, whatever. Put it on some hot wings.
What will that do? What will that do?
What? I don't know. Smelling salts are a thing. Maybe has sniffing hot sauce. Who knows? You put it on buffalo wings. Anything to give this defense a kick.
Sniffing hot sauce is crazy, but Jordan's been using a lot of big words, and I don't think it's fair. I want to use some of my own. Omega-3 fatty acids.
Oh.
That is what this team needs. I'm going to give them a salmon, a big salmon. That is what this team needs, okay? It is a great brain food, okay? Now, it may seem like a little bit bordering the line. What is a brain food? Salmon is one of them because this team needs to look lively and sharp on the defensive end. They need to be focused or else NC State is just going to keep scoring on them. So avoid those defensive lapses because NC State will make you pay. Let's eat some salmon.
When was the last time you had salmon?
Back when I was at my own house, so I'd say maybe over winter.
Okay, so a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Maybe you need to cook yourself some more salmon to make feel better a little bit like this basketball team.
It's necessary.
Are you a salmon fan, Jordan?
It's here or there. My mom makes a great salmon, but it's not. Smoked salmon is definitely a little bit better. But
everyone loves salmon.
If there's a fish I'm going to go with tilapia.
Everyone loves salmon. All right, final thing we're adding to this team here in the CC Kitchen, energy. The topic of energy is very important with this group. You look at the slow start against Duke, you look at the slow start against Pittsburgh, it just hasn't been there. Srikar, how are we getting more energy on this team?
Well, first off, I'm going to set the fork down because you don't need a fork to consume this beverage. I'm going to say a Red Bull is what you need because if we're talking about team energy, an energy drink seems like the best way to get this team playing all 4 quarters, okay? If you're going to wake up, you need to wake up. Play like one of the top teams in the nation. A slow start against NC State, it just won't cut it. Drink that Red Bull and be energized because, hey, if it really gives you wings, I want to see it.
You're going with the Red Bull, which gives you a little bit of a kick, but I've got to go with turkey because this team needs a nap. They've been playing all season long. If you look at it, ACC schools get at least one bye during the season where they don't play on a Thursday or they don't play on a Sunday. Syracuse's bye hasn't happened yet. It's the last game of the season. This team is just tired at this point. They need that bye before the ACC tournament to really get rejuvenated. I'm going to pick up the fork because, you got to have a fork and a knife.
Oh, wow.
Got to have a fork and a knife to eat some turkey.
Here, and I'll feed it to you.
Feed it to me?
Yeah. There you go. There. Here,
you can eat some turkey?
Yeah. You want some turkey?
No.
We got to make
I want a Red Bull.
We got to make sure we don't eat too much turkey because we still have a little bit of time left in the show, though.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to cook something up during this next break. All right, that's the CC Kitchen. That's what Syracuse needs coming up against NC State on Thursday. Don't worry, we're not done yet. We're looking ahead to the ACC tournament and potentially what is to come for this Syracuse women's basketball team. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where did Cavs go on vacation? New York.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
If you're buzzed,
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Oh, I am full. Are you guys full?
I feel like you can't not be full after that.
I feel so satisfied cooking things up in the kitchen for you guys. I hope you had fun.
I was nervous actually at the beginning because I didn't know how good of a chef you were, but I thought you did pretty good.
Oh, thank you. Well, welcome back to Cuse Countdown. I'm Ethan Frank. That's Jordan, Leonard, and Srikar, Rajendran. We just got out of the CC kitchen. We're back here at the Cuse Countdown desk inside the CitrusTV studios, talking number 19 Syracuse women's basketball going up against number 12 NC State. Final game of the regular season for the Orange before the ACC tournament, where Syracuse has already clinched a double bye straight into the quarterfinals, which means SU only has to win 3 games for its first ACC tournament title. So let's look at a projected bracket right now. You see who might have a single bye, who might have a double bye, and who's going to be playing in the first round. So Syracuse, as the number 2 seed, would play the winner of the number 7 seed Duke versus the number 10 seed Virginia against the number 15 seed Pittsburgh. If you didn't follow that, I understand. That was a lot of words. But for Syracuse to play Duke again so soon after losing to them by double digits on their home floor, potentially, that'd be a tough draw.
No, that is a lot of words you just said, and I might need Jordan to help me out here. I think you know a lot about bracketology as well, but the one thing I'm looking at here, that top 4, all in the double buys. That is a strong core right there. Obviously, Liz Kitley and the Hokies, Hannah Hidalgo, at a 5 in the single bye. I mean, there are good teams pretty much littered across this board, Jordan.
If you look at it, these teams in the top 4, Virginia Tech, NC State, Louisville, are consistently good teams in the ACC. That just shows how well Syracuse has played all year. If Syracuse wins the game against NC State, they're locked into the 2 seed. If they lose, they're either the 3 or the 4, and then it relies on Louisville. Louisville has 2 games left. If they lose one of those games, Syracuse locked in 3. If they win both, if Syracuse loses to NC State, they're locked in the 4. So there's a little bit of matchups right there. And yes, I agree with you though. If they face Duke again, that's not a great matchup for Syracuse. You kind of want to position yourself because Syracuse needs to get a win in the ACC tournament. You can't go one and done.
I agree with you completely. I think Duke would be the worst matchup for both NC State and Syracuse in this case because we've obviously seen from previous history how those 2 matchups have gone and how they matched up with each other as well. So Duke is that one scary team sitting right in the middle there with the single bye, and the one team that maybe both of those squads have to look out for.
It's interesting looking at all these teams because you think back on Syracuse's season and you're like, I don't know anyone on here that would be an easy or good matchup because every game has been close or every game has been a comeback. I guess maybe Notre Dame is the one team because you swept them.
Which is funny enough because they're a top 25
that's a tough team.
But otherwise, I guess Wake Forest would probably, no offense to Wake Forest.
No offense.
But there aren't many that's a really good matchup for Syracuse because they've played everyone close and there haven't really been any easy wins. Like even those teams that are going to be playing on day 1, Boston College was close, Clemson was close, Georgia Tech was close. It kind of makes your skin crawl a little bit. But heading into this matchup with NC State, Syracuse, if it wants, one of these top 2 seeds, it has to be the Wolfpack. So if they're going to get the job done, Jordan, how do they do it?
They have to stick in the game early. We've talked about it all throughout the show. Syracuse is a 4th quarter team. Well, NC State is a 1st quarter team. They outscored opponents by 6 points in the 1st quarter. Syracuse needs to stick in the game early to allow for one of those 4th quarter comebacks where Deasia Fair just takes over the entire game.
Well, I think you have to crash the boards. On one end of the floor, you got to get those second chance opportunities, get those offensive rebounds, and give yourself some more points because they're going to come at a premium. And also on the other end, you got to make sure you're boxing out River Baldwin, get those rebounds that you can get because this front court, it's really going to be on them to produce and defend. So it's going to be a really tough matchup there, but overall, I think you got to crash the boards, and that's how you're going to win games.
If someone is crashing the boards for Syracuse, who do you want? Do you want it to be a group effort, or is there someone you want to see leading the charge?
Group effort, but Izzy Varejao, Alyssa Latham, those 2 in general, I think they need to do a great job on River Baldwin. That's the matchup I'm looking at the most.
All right, it's go time. Prediction time. Jordan, does Syracuse get it done?
I think they do get it done. They just edge it out, 67-65. They are going to stick in the game enough where they can come back in the 4th quarter. You just mentioned Izzy Varejao. Alyssa Latham, the matchup to watch with River Baldwin, because when Alyssa Latham is in foul trouble, it really hurts the team's front court depth because she's the one all-around forward. She can score, grab rebounds, play great defense. So if they can stick in the game early, Alyssa Latham stay out of foul trouble early, Syracuse is going to get that win, 67-65.
Jordan, I think it's a fair prediction. I'm going to go with NC State. My score 71-67. And here's the thing. Syracuse has been living on the edge. That's my one issue. And when you go up against a better team like NC State, that team is going to make you pay. So I'll go 71-67. It will be close, but I think NC State pulls out a W.
All right, it's been an awesome season for Coach Jack and Syracuse, and I think the regular season ends on a high note. 72-67, Syracuse down in Raleigh in the regular season finale. We'll see how the ACC tournament goes. Thanks so much for joining us all night long. Have a good night and enjoy the game.